Welcome to the WJBM Outdoor Show, brought to you by Midwest Tractor Sales in Jerseyville. We're coming to you from the WJBM studios in Jerseyville, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Aaron Quillan. I operate Monarch Rivers, where the mission is simple: kill big deer. With us today, we have a podcaster here in Illinois and taxidermist, Mr. Canyon Clark, Ridge Hunter Outdoors. Canyon, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. So I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and I like it. It's it's really good in terms of topics, the different aspects of encompassing like the full spectrum of hunting, and I think it's really cool that you're out here. How long of a drive was it?
Just 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Dude, thank you.
So I think not too bad.
You might have the current record for
really
this. Well,
then it was 3 hours.
So yeah, man, it's pretty cool. The way that you do that. I got a ton of questions. I mean, you're a young man. How old are you?
28.
28. All right.
Yep.
And you do the podcast, the taxidermy. How did you get into hunting and the outdoors?
That's super easy for me because my old man has a deer processing shop where I'm at. And he's had it since I've been born, since before I was born. Yeah. And not only that, up until I was pretty young, 5 or 6, he had an archery shop too. They actually had one in Mount Vernon there. Yeah. And then they had one in our hometown too. So they had a couple locations. But so I was like born into it. Essentially, my mom was doing taxidermy. She's been doing taxidermy, had been before I took it over since like 92.
That's awesome.
So she'd been doing it for a long time. Obviously, it goes hand in hand with the deer processing. Dad's been doing that. So like, he didn't get a ton of time to hunt all the time, especially once like second week of November rolls around. Yeah, super busy at the shop. Yeah, and but what I would do is I'd get off school, especially before I got into like baseball and basketball sports, or if it was like kind of in between fall baseball and basketball starting. Yeah. I'd go hunt after school, especially before I could drive. Dad just take me and drop me off. We had a spot close to town. He'd drop me off. I'd go hunt. He'd come back and pick me up at dark. I mean, just ever since I can remember, that's what I've been doing. Nice. And loved it.
All right. All right. And you're a huge deer hunter. Mm-hmm. What are the other things that you like to hunt?
I've gotten into turkey hunting, so I'm still fairly new. I think this would have been my 4th year, I believe. Okay. Turkey hunt. Really enjoy that. I never, again, one of those deals, nobody that I was around really did it growing up. Right. So it was kind of very late onset for me, but I thought, especially since we were doing video and stuff, like this would be another opportunity to get some cool content. And I enjoy hunting and being outside. Can't do anything else in the spring except fish. So got started in turkey hunting, really like that. Waterfowl hunting, I've been doing that since I was in high school, probably. I don't do it as much now as I would like to. Okay. Even in the, 12 to 15 years that I've been doing it, it seems like there's less birds around where we hunt than what used to be. Okay. Fortunately, my uncle's got a lease in southeast Missouri, so there's still some good hunting down there.
Very nice.
So I get to go do that occasionally. Yeah. And then obviously fishing. We actually run a lot of bank poles on a little river. Okay. We had a 12-foot John boat, throw it on there, run some bank poles for some catfish.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice to pass the time in the summer between hunting seasons.
Yeah. Awesome. I love flatheads.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
flathead belly, if you cut that out, get that skin off of it, throw it on the grill like a steak with like some lemon butter and some lemon pepper. Yeah. Put that on top of your head, your tongue will beat your brains out trying to get to it.
I love that. Yeah. That's cool, man. So you came up in a taxidermy family, processing. Mm-hmm. How long does it take you to clean a deer?
Not very.
I bet.
Not very. As long as I got a good sharp knife. Yeah. And I mean, not very.
What's your tool of choice?
As far as
knife,
we use, I believe, their Gerber brand. It's just a good, clean skin and butcher knife. Okay. It's nothing real fancy.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've cut up a lot of deer. Mm-hmm. I still can't figure out what my favorite is. Yeah. Yeah. I had some custom made knives. Mm-hmm. Back in COVID, it was like everything shut down.
Right.
And I was like, people weren't buying hunts. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, boom, everybody said, I am sick of being inside.
Yeah, I need to go do something.
August was the best month I've ever had in sales my entire life that year.
I bet.
Right? But there were some key people that you know, kind of went out of their way to, you know, what I felt helped me out. And so I went and I got some custom knives made. I had Monarch Rivers. Duke Harley Originals is the name of the knife maker. Guy that I kind of, you know, heard about through some mutual friends. And those knives, I mean, I cleaned, you could get like 10, 15 deer. And it was still sharp.
Right.
And I was like, these things are sweet.
Yeah.
But now as far as sharpening them, I recognize I don't have the expertise necessarily to do that, because it was like a piece of art that I was cleaning a deer with.
But we like not to get too much into knives, but I think they're like a 10-inch knife. It's maybe a 6-inch blade and a 4-inch handle, but the ones for skinning are different than the ones we use for quartering them, or not quartering them, but boning them out up front, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit thicker blade on the bottom, a little bit sturdier blade, a little bit bigger handle for skinning, because you're kind of getting in there and doing a little more work. And then up front, when you're cutting meat off the bone, it's a little thinner handle, it's a little flimsier, and the blade is, the blade's a little flimsier, a little thinner, and the handle's a little thinner, so it's a little nicer on your hand. Yeah. But there's definitely, you could get down rabbit holes on knives for sure.
Yeah. I hate to admit it, but sometimes I like to take a fish fillet knife. When I'm deboning, you can get a lot of meat off fast. Oh, you're gonna make all this hamburger?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. So that's cool. And how long you been doing the podcast for?
We've been doing the podcast since 21. So we started Ridge Hunter Outdoors in 2020. Okay. COVID year. Yeah. And then started the podcast the following year. Really, Ridge Hunter started in 2018. I started doing a processing shop. We had the tarsals on the deer. We were basically just throwing away with the hides, or they were going with the hide to the guy that buys the capes. Yeah. And so I started making scent with those. Really? In like 2018 while I was going to school. Yeah. And got to be a decent little side hustle. I'd go to school. I'd mix scent on the weekend, put it out, go to school, and then like I'd come back, there'd be a pile of cash on my desk, and mom and dad would be like, hey, your money's on the desk, you need to make more stuff. So that's how Ridge Hunter initially got started. And then when COVID happened, we kind of expanded it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So basically the taxidermy shop is what do you mean when you say Ridge Hunter? And then a year later, the podcast?
No, so actually,
Ridge
Hunter came from the deer processing part of it, right? Yeah. So it's all the same building where we do it. So we do we do processing obviously from October to mid-January. Yeah. Early February, depending. Yeah. And then I'll start taxidermy in like March and do that all the way through September. Yeah. So it kind of all came from the same place, but I wasn't even doing the taxidermy at that time. I was just taking the scrap tarsal glands and making scent out of them. Right. And then at the time I was going to school for sports business over here in St. Louis. Okay. And I got a job with the Blues. I was writing for a couple newspapers covering sports. Yeah. And then shortly after I graduated, I got a job with the Blues. Yeah. Well, I graduated in 19. Yeah. And I worked for the paper through that year. And then got the job with the Blues like beginning of 2020. Went for my orientation in March of 2020. Yeah. 3 days after my orientation's when the world shut down. So basically immediately lost that gig. Yeah. I think I ended up working 1 day for them like in August of the following year, maybe. Okay. But so it's 2020 is here. We had a house bought in St. Peter's over there. Yeah. And job fell through. So that fell through. We went back home. Yeah. I had the brand kind of started already with the scents. Yeah. So I got a couple more guys involved and we started doing food plots, the property management and the consulting in 2020. Cause I was like, I got to find something to do. And I love this. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And then out of that came the podcast because all these guys we were consulting for seemed like a lot of them had similar questions or were like doing similar things that weren't necessarily the best practice for what they were wanting. So we're like, they're obviously getting this information somewhere. Let's give them somewhere good to get it from. So then in 2021, in September, I brought another guy on, a buddy of mine, and we started doing the podcast then. Okay. Yeah. Wow. And I always tell people, if you're going to start listening, start around episode like 30 or 35. Right. You know how that goes. We were learning on the fly for a while there. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. You know, like the things that you have to kind of learn on a new experience like this. Like
I still have no idea what we're doing out here, but it's been a lot of fun.
One thing I learned in college, I had a professor, he said, the day you stop learning is the day you die. And like, that is held true in pretty much everything that I've done. And I'm still absolutely learning new stuff all the time when it comes to the podcast, when it comes to the YouTube channel, heck, even taxidermy and all that stuff. Even deer processing that I've been doing my whole life. You're always trying to learn new stuff and figure out a better way to do it, be more efficient, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say that with deer, the more I learn about deer hunting, the more I realize I don't know anything about deer. Yeah, like,
yes,
man, it's like you don't know. This deer's got this personality, and then this one's got this personality. Generally, this is what they do. Generally, they'll move through this pinch point.
Right.
But there's just so much. Just the wind swirls. I mean, just the idea of you think you got everything right, and then boom.
Yep.
Nope. Not work to do.
Something simple as you thought you had this property figured out. Well, then the farmer decided to do something different on his crop rotations, or the neighbor started logging their woods. Like it just, and as soon as you think you got them figured out, you get humbled. You know, it take that one deer, like you're talking about, that has that just personality, for lack of a better term, that he's just not going to do what you think he's going to do.
No.
Drive you up a wall.
Yeah. Man.
And you thought you knew what you were doing.
Right. And then it's trying to keep track of them all.
Oh, man.
I don't know about you, but we're just trying to keep track. All right, you got these deer, this age category on this farm. You got these deer, this age, and just trying to learn that.
Yeah.
And management, whew.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just look at different phases of management. At, Texas, they wrote the book on management.
Right.
And then that started to, come to the Midwest and move north to Canada, right? And so you have different aspects, and it's like, what did they get right? What did they get wrong?
What works here? What doesn't work here that did work there?
Right.
What works here that wouldn't there? That kind of stuff.
Food plots.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is interesting, I'd love to know your perspective on this. 8 points. When's the right? When we're trying to manage deer for the maximum size, when do you think the right age to shoot an 8-point is?
Man, on average, because it's tough, because, some deer, they'll jump from 5 to 6.
Right.
Some deer might jump from 6 to 7. Some of them, they'll make a jump from 3 to 4, and then that's it. Some of them will just incrementally grow every year. So, like, it's one of those deals, there's so much nuance to it. There's no hard and set rules.
Right.
But, there's statistics out there that say most of the deer are 90% of their potential by 4.5. It's all averages, right?
Right.
So, but honestly, by the time they're 4.5, 5.5, you probably know what they're going to be, in my opinion. And again, obviously there's those ones that fall outside of that, and especially where we're at too, which is all relative.
Right.
Also, like we're in Southern Illinois. So, I mean, there's places in Southern Illinois where a deer's lucky to make 4.5. There's other places where they might make 7, 8. No problem. Right. And throughout the country is the same way. You go up to UP in Michigan and try to tell those guys to shoot a 4.5, 5.5-year-old, they're going to look at you like you got two heads.
Yeah.
Right. Because 3.5's a mature deer there. So it's all relative.
Yeah.
For sure. But as far as antler growth goes, I mean, and that's something that we'll tell people, like the only way, the most effective way to get that deer to be bigger is to give them another year.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of different practices you can try, and some of them that are popular that don't necessarily work that well, doesn't seem to. But the one that's going to let you know what that deer's going to be next year is letting them get to next year.
Yeah. And it seems like the past couple of years, I feel like the record 8-point has been broken like a couple years consecutive. I mean, maybe even last year could have been broken again.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I think somebody here locally might have been given a run for the money. One of them that they got killed. The thing that I find interesting, and the reason I asked the 8-point, to me, if you look at the non-typical world records, a lot of them are mainframe 8s. Yeah, and the rest is just junk. Yep. And so it's like, do you kill an 8 at 4? Right. My perception on original Texas management was you kill 8s at 3.5.
Right.
Right. Don't let them get into the breeding population.
Mm-hmm.
I've also heard you can shoot virtually whatever you want. A whitetail's supposed to be an 8-point.
Right.
Everything over 8 is like not what a whitetail is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So can you affect it? Can you not?
Right.
By what you shoot in terms of genetics?
See, that's a tough one. And I have heard the same thing. Like most whitetails want to be, on average, across their range, want to be about 125-inch 8-pointer.
Right.
Like if everything was pretty straight across the board, no ups or downs as far as nutrition or weather, anything like that, they want to be like 125, 130-inch 8-pointer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we see a lot of times, at least with our deer or guys that we've worked with, is sometimes they might add like a G4, a small one, and then it'll go away the next year, right? But junk. They'll generally kind of keep their frame, but they might throw junk later, which is those big non-typicals you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the culling thing, right, is kind of what you're talking about.
Right.
And to me, that came from TV stuff in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Guys needed content. They needed videos of killing deer. This 3.5-year-old's out there. It's the end of my hunt. He's an 8-pointer.
Okay.
He's now a cull buck.
Yeah.
So everything in that time, that was the hunting media. So that's what everybody knew. Okay, well, we're just culling deer to make the herd better. Well, that doesn't take into account the fact that you can look at a field full of bucks, right? You can see, okay, he's got a good rack, probably good genetics. He's got worse rack, probably not as good genetics. Well, take a field full of does.
Right.
How do you know which one of those has the better genetics for the buck?
You don't.
You don't. So you can shoot that, 4-year-old 8-pointer that's 130 inches and think you're doing something for the herd. And you might be, but the does really have just as much to do with it, if not more, because they're also responsible for their nutrition in gestation and then in lactation and getting them a good start. And having a good, healthy start as a button buck is as important as anything. And there's been some studies on, like, okay, we had a really good wet spring. There was a lot of natural browse when these bucks were born versus these bucks that was in a drought that spring or whatever. And these bucks end up doing better than these ones because they had a better start. Yeah. And the does have a lot to do with that. So that's like the culling thing. I think a lot of that came from, we got to fill TV time. We need to kill something instead of, and I think guys still do it as they almost call it a cull buck to justify filling their tag. Right. If you're happy shooting the buck, just shoot the buck.
Shoot the deer. Right.
Yeah. You don't have to justify it by calling it a cull deer. It is what it is. You saw a buck that you liked and you wanted to shoot and use your tag, and maybe it's not a buck you would have shot in October, but hey, it's January and you got the tag and you like him.
Well, yeah.
Shoot him. You don't have to justify it to me by calling him a cull buck.
To me, age is the trophy, right?
Yeah.
Look at your inventory on your farm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you got this inventory. So let's say we're not taking hunters. We're not guiding. We got this piece of property. This is where I hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I like to hunt. I want venison, right?
Right.
Take a look at your inventory. If you take one buck out of that, your does are going to reproduce. There's going to be a specific rate of new bucks coming.
Yep.
And that's going to happen every year.
Yep.
So your 1-year-old becomes a 2-year-old, your 2-year-old becomes a 3-year-old, your 4-year-old becomes, and so on. So it depends on what you're managing for too.
Yeah.
I do tell all of our hunters, age is the trophy. You never know what you're really looking at. The number of deer that we kill the ratio of deer that we kill at 7 or 8 years old is specifically, it's consistent.
Right.
And that to me is what it's all about is, hey, we're allowing these deer to get to this age. The proof's in the pudding. And no deer's equal, like what you're talking about. They're supposed to be right at kind of Pope and Young.
Yeah.
They could be the size of a cow.
Right.
And then it makes those 130-inch antlers look tiny.
It does.
But when you look at it from that perspective, and how are we graduating into, I saw a thing, Lee Lukoski's looking for 7-year-old deer. He said, that's what it takes to reach 200 inches.
Right.
By all means. But a lot of 7-year-olds we've killed, none of them were 200. So
right.
what does that say about,
in
in terms of what he's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
You know, what we're all trying to do is hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's Mother Nature, and none of it's easy. But it's crazy because as deer hunters, we look at, all right, here's my herd.
Mm-hmm.
There's X amount of predation going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's, you know, they're going to get hit by cars.
Yeah.
It could be disease. They kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, these deer during the rut, when push comes to shove, they will kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Deer on deer violence.
Yes, exactly.
So, you know, all these factors, it kind of becomes, all right, we got to graduate this deer. And so that just getting him to 7.
Yeah.
But then he's got to have a specific genetic strain.
Yeah, exactly.
In something that we can't control.
Yep.
Because we don't have a fence. We can't, you know, call the mayor.
Exactly.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Man.
You can't kill a 200 if there's not one there, right?
Right.
So that's something that I've heard guys that, you know, not from them, but kind of second, third hand guys that are trying to kill those kind of deer when they go look for a property. They want to see the structure of the property and want to see it's good, but they'll go around and see what kind of deer have been killed in that area.
Yeah.
Because if the genetics aren't there, they just aren't there.
Right.
You can't kill 200 if there's only 150-inch deer in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And those deer, there's a spot I can think of right now. And this is a spot where deer will get to 7 to 9 year old pretty regular.
Yeah.
And there might be 2 a year that are 170 that might go boon.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
And not that that's bad, but I don't know if there's ever been a 200 that's been living in that area. You know what I mean? Just because that's what the genetics are. And then the age thing too, like you said, to me, that's the trophy. Mm-hmm. And it's all relative. Like I said earlier, like if you're in parts of Pennsylvania or Michigan, even parts of Illinois, maybe a 3.5-year-old is a mature deer for that area. Mm-hmm. Now, like what you're talking about, matures 6, 7 years old. There's other places where it's 4.5, 5.5.
Right.
And it's one of those things you hear a lot. Well, you get that nice 3.5-year-old buck. Yeah. Like, well, if I don't shoot him, the neighbor will. Well, if you shoot him, you're that neighbor.
Right.
If I kill him right now, he has no chance of making it next year. If I let him go, at least he's got a chance.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't have it both ways, I guess. You can't be like, well, if I don't shoot him, the neighbor will. I'd really like him to be bigger, but I'm going to go ahead and shoot him. You know,
I'm hungry.
And if it's me, I would rather kill the 5.5-plus-year-old 130-inch than the 150-inch 3-year-old. Yeah. And also that 3-year-old that's 150 might really be something at 5, right?
So that's something that's also really interesting because sometimes a 3-year-old throws its biggest rack it'll ever have.
Yeah.
And why?
Right.
Don't know, but that's a possibility.
And it could just be that year, right? There may have been wherever they were at that year, the crops did well, the natural browse did well, the acorns dropped really good that year, and then bam, everything came together because antler growth is all from excess, right? They got to hit their certain body weight, which comes into play like your buck to doe ratio and how much they run down the rut, how much they're going to grow next year because they have to make up more body weight, yada, yada. So if they had more excess that year, if they got to their body weight earlier in their antler development that they needed to get to, then that nutrition starts going to their antlers. Yeah. Sometimes that happens at 3, you know? Right. And then what's the easiest deer to kill? What's the first deer coming by on November 15th, right? It's a 2 or 3-year-old buck. Right. And bam, hey, there's a 170-inch 3-year-old.
Right. Wham.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not passing the 170, but yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the WJBM Outdoor Show, brought to you by Midwest Tractor Sales in Jerseyville. We're coming to you from the WJBM studios in Jerseyville, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Aaron Quillan. I operate Monarch Rivers, where the mission is simple: kill big deer. Join us. We got a great guest for y'all tuning in right now. Kenyon Clark. He's an Illinois podcaster. I do taxidermy processing. What town are you in again?
Wayne City.
Wayne City, Illinois.
Yep. It's just a little bit east of Mount Vernon.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So we were just talking about genetics and trying to grow big deer. A lot of different goals, a lot of different hunters, landowners, whatever. Everybody's got different goals, but different aspects of that. One of the things that we were talking about was predation. You know, you look at what did we list off? We listed off, hit by a car, disease. They kill each other during the rut. We didn't mention bobcats, coyotes.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that you talked about recently on an episode is right now a bill that's sitting on Governor Pritzker's desk called the Rewilding Bill.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about predation and trying to grow and manage deer, I guess you did a whole show on it. Tell us a little bit more about the Rewilding Bill.
Yeah, so from what I can gather and from some conversations that I've had, what is proposing is that it gives the DNR basically the ability legally to introduce keystone species and reintroduce. So this is supposed to be stuff that was here before, right? And specifically apex predators.
Right.
So apex predators in our area being black bears, wolves, and mountain lions, right? Mm-hmm. Which some people argue, well, they're here already anyway. Well, they might pass through every now and then.
Right.
They're not in a breeding population. Right. And that's what reintroducing a species' ultimate goal would be, right? Mm-hmm. There's another key to this, keystone species, right?
Right.
Conversation I had with a guy that we talked about earlier. Also, part of this, what they're wanting is protection for keystone species. Mm-hmm. Well, what that means is an animal or species of animal that can have a way greater impact than its size, essentially. So, like a bison, an elk. Yeah. One elk can destroy a lot around it, right? So, keystone beavers are an example around where we're at. One beaver can do a lot of damage in an area, so considered keystone species. They're wanting protection for beavers, coyotes, and I believe there's one more he mentioned as well. So not only would it be reintroduction of those apex predators, it's also protection for the other predators that we have now. I'm sure bobcats are probably in that too.
Okay.
I don't want to say that for sure because I don't know, but from the conversation I had, that might have been the other one he said.
Yeah.
I don't want to say for sure. But so now you're looking at those three apex predators being protected because they're not going to reintroduce them for us to hunt them.
Right.
Look at Michigan. They've had wolf problems up there for years. They're not allowed to hunt them still.
Right.
What they did in Colorado, reintroduce the wolves. You kill one of those and they catch you, that's a bad deal. Right. So they're not reintroducing them for us to hunt them.
Right.
They're reintroducing them for essentially population control of the whitetails. In my opinion, that's probably what it comes down to because when you talk about kind of some changes they've already made with how they're doing stuff for the nuisance permits, how they're doing stuff for landowner permits, they're trying to control deer population. And their statistics from that all come from self-reported crop damage through the Department of Agriculture, and it comes through car accidents, the insurance companies.
Right.
So what do the insurance lobbyists and the Department of Ag, what do those lobbyists want? Less deer because that's less crop damage and it's less payouts for the insurance company, right?
Right.
And that's fine. I think there are definitely places in the state where it's lousy with deer, and there needs to be something done, or we'll have a big kill-off like 2012. I firmly believe that if we don't do it, Mother Nature will.
Right.
And if we don't manage it properly, something's going to happen, and then they're going to be wiped out. I believe there are places in the state like that. I also know there are places in the state where you can sit for a week and maybe see 5 deer.
Right.
The problem is, this is when they look at the state, they look at it all as one deer herd. And the way Illinois is laid out, I mean, that's just not feasible. It's completely different, north of 70 than it is south of 70. And there's so many different pocketed deer herds within that. In my opinion, they should be trying to manage herds in regions by region. And even that wouldn't be perfect, but it would be better than just blanketing the whole state with, hey, we're going to introduce these apex predators to help control deer population. There's going to be places where they're just going to be completely decimated, completely wiped out.
Right. It's a very it's a lot of layers to this onion.
Yes.
The thing that I find interesting is, to my knowledge, I am not aware of any available, biological data with regard to where our populations are.
Right.
And, one of the functions of the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, they have biologists. I'd love it if we could have some transparency or a site that we could go to where we could get a better understanding for our area.
Yes.
I mean, they've got to be working on that to some capacity.
You would hope, right?
Yeah. I mean, I know guys from the DNR, they're great dudes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, I think that the DNR is, they've got a function that really serves a purpose. I don't oppose what they do at all.
Right.
In terms of day to day, but I'd love to see what their, you know, biologists have put together that reinforces this.
Yeah.
Common sense would say that they've put something together.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want this to go through. I don't want this signed.
No.
There are too many implications for a lot of us, too many implications for small towns and downstate.
Yep.
I feel like there's become a big disconnection between, you know, how politics are managed versus downstate, and just a huge why.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Why?
I think probably a lot of the issue is the DNR, once it becomes used for politics instead of what its actual purpose was to start with managing our natural resources.
Right.
Then that's where you run into trouble. And again, just from what I understand from some conversations I've had, there's been a certain time period now in the last 10 or 20 years where it's been more political than it has been actually doing it, serving as function. Because there's states around us. Missouri does an okay job. Iowa should be like, I mean, they're our neighbors. They should be the model for a DNR, and we can't figure that out. As far as the biology thing goes, yeah, why are we using, and I've yet to have anybody give me a good reason or argue. I mean, the reason's fairly obvious, but why are we using self-reported crop damage and car insurance claims for our population? The technology's out there. You've heard of a thermal drone.
Yeah.
If you took a thermal drone out in January when the deer are congregated at night feeding in generally one place, you could figure out almost to the exact number the amount of deer we have in Illinois in what, 2 weeks?
Right.
Like you could do a county a night, easy.
Yeah.
Now you could do multiple counties, especially if you got more people working on it, which you would have.
Right.
You got these biologists, you've got DNR officers that would love to fly thermal drones around and look at deer, right?
Exactly.
You could know almost to the number how many deer we had by doing that. I don't know why. It's got to do with money. Everything with politics. I don't think that's a big revelation. When it comes to politics, it comes down to money.
Right.
But to me, that would be the more common sense way to go about it. And like you said, you have all these biologists that know way more about it than I do.
Right.
And most people know more about it than most people do. Why aren't we leaning on them instead of what they're using?
Or giving them a voice.
Yeah, right.
You know, they might not, so they're into science and stuff. They might not be into public speaking, but let's give them an opportunity to, hey, this is what we're seeing in this region. This is what we're seeing in this region. They have representation in most regions, especially you know, areas that have abundance of resources.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So this passed through the legislature. It's sitting on Pritzker's desk. He's got basically 3 options?
Yeah.
Sign, veto, or do nothing.
Exactly.
And so what happens if he does nothing?
So if he does nothing, it becomes law as is, and he can just say, I had nothing to do with this.
Okay.
Which inaction is an action in and of itself. But I think he's let it go this long. That's probably his play. Because he probably knows it's going to make a certain amount of people mad, that maybe even his voter base, some of them. A lot of times, especially with Illinois, when it comes to things like this, it's pretty split voter base wise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's pretty party line one way or the other. But I got to figure there's some people that would vote for Pritzker, especially in these suburban areas, that don't really want wolves in their backyard. And I mean, you've seen that. There's deer living in Detroit. You know what I mean? There's deer living in whatever city you're in right now in Illinois. There's probably deer there pretty regular. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't, if there's deer there, there's going to be the predators there too. And I mean, why would you think that wouldn't happen? And I got to think there's a lot of people, even maybe on the left side of the aisle, that would be Pritzker voters that would not like to see him sign into law a bill that would introduce that kind of problem to their life, you know?
Right. I totally could have gotten spoofed here, but I saw on Instagram, it was an urban area. A news channel was interviewing a man about seeing a mountain lion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking it's, it was an urban area. And then there was a Ring doorbell of a mountain lion walking through. Could be a spoof.
Right.
AI, everything out there.
Right.
But imagine that becomes more common or a reality. In the case of a spoof, a reality.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a 16-month-old. I don't want Brody outside alone.
Absolutely not.
Because if they bring in mountain lions or wolves, they're coming to Calhoun.
Oh yeah,
they're going to drop them off there.
Yes,
I mean it's
probably the starting point.
It's got the highest concentration of timber.
Yep.
In the state. If you go to Google Map and put it on the satellite and you zoom out and you say where are the highest concentrations of timber, one of them is absolutely going to be Calhoun.
Yeah.
It's one ridge between two rivers.
Yep. And wolves and mountain lions don't play around. See, of all of them, black bears don't worry me as much as far as that stuff goes, because usually black bears mind their own business. They'll run away before you ever see them, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're going to cause a lot of damage, and crop damage even, especially. And then you just get that one mom that's got her cubs.
Yeah.
Then you're in trouble. But the wolves and the mountain lions, they kill for sport where they're already at.
Yeah.
They might even have to be hungry and looking. Now, if they get hungry, then it's going to be even worse. But sometimes they'll wipe out a whole herd of elk out west and just move on, not even eat it all, Yeah. And I think there's even people that just enjoy going for a walk on a trail and like down in Shawnee,
right?
Garden of the Gods or whatever.
Yeah.
Now you got to worry about a mountain lion standing up on a rock watching you walk by.
Right.
That's not awesome.
No.
There's been some people, some feedback I've gotten since I posted that video. Like, well, one of them has been, we can't sustain a population in Illinois. We just don't have the habitat. Number one, even if we can't sustain it for, let's say, 10 years, you know how much damage they could do? It's going to be too late. By the time they're gone, right? They're going to eat themselves out of home, basically.
Right.
And they're just going to decimate any huntable species that we have.
Yeah.
Because they're going to kill deer first, and then whatever other prey of opportunity comes by. But then when the deer are gone, well, they got to move on to squirrels and rabbits and birds and dogs and kids and whatever else, right?
Yeah.
Even if we can't sustain a population, which I believe there's places in Illinois, like you said, Calhoun, for sure. You got all this timber up here for wolves, no problem. You go down south, Shawnee, huge. I mean, mountain lions, black bears, wolves, you name it. I think at some point there'll be an elk population down there, just probably from Kentucky and Missouri if they make it across the rivers.
Yeah.
But I think we definitely have the habitat to sustain it. And even if we don't, it's going to be a problem. And then I wanted to post, but I'm way more of a post and ghost kind of guy when it comes to our social media, because you can get way in it with some people.
Yeah.
I wanted to put on there like a GIF of the guy from Jurassic Park. I can't remember his name right now. The glasses, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And where that quote where he says, "Mother Nature finds a way." We've seen this before.
Right. No doubt. Yeah, it's really interesting what's coming down the pipe. There are a lot of different people trying to speak out, I think, individually.
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to some of the stuff that Don Higgins has put out. Tim Wells had a pretty poignant perspective that he posted on Facebook this spring.
Mm-hmm.
For me, and we talked about this when we were getting you scheduled out here, we have to approach it as a positive.
Yeah.
Focus on how we can do it, and it doesn't matter who you are. We're all on the same team, because you're either for enjoyment or use of outdoor resources, or they don't matter to you at all. And anytime that we're arguing or projecting a negative self-image, we're really kind of hurting ourselves, and that's detracting from what we're trying to accomplish. And that's how you get into a state where we feel disenfranchised. I mean, obviously Chicago's got more revenue than the rest of the state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's big tech companies up there. How much space does it take to grow tech?
Right.
Okay. Well, our primary export is agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a lot of space to grow agriculture. So
exactly,
it all makes sense. But it's really interesting. I think there's some organizations hopping on board, and hopefully, the voice can be heard. I saw on the latest Higgins podcast, he eloquently states, why don't we get the hunters and the farmers and the DNR together and come up with a solution that meets all of our needs, because we all have similar goals.
Right.
And it's conservation.
Yeah.
Your conservation comes from those people that enjoy the use of, I'm not talking about, yay, this is fun, I love hiking. Enjoy, by definition, like real estate wise, is actual use of property, real property. So I'd love to see something come together on that.
I worry about the Department of Ag part of it because, and obviously huge agriculture where I'm at, that's most of what's down there. I got a lot of friends that are farmers, and like they just despise deer.
Right.
And I get it to some extent, because they're out there trying to make a living, planting their crops, and then the deer come and eat them. Now, we go down a rabbit hole on that too, but I don't know if they'd be as willing as we would be to meet somewhere in the middle. I would hope they would be, and it's definitely worth the conversation. Because like you're saying, there's enough other people out there that are against what we're trying to do. We don't need to be against each other. And there's some shared enemies between agriculture and the hunting community for sure.
Right.
Right. So if they could come together and have a conversation and work something out, I think that would be great. You mentioned Tim Wells's article, or it was a Facebook post.
Yeah.
I actually did a video on that, and some people were fairly upset about it because they thought I was like coming down on Tim. And it was really, we got to the same place. It was just one of those deals where I thought some of the stuff, the way he worded it, was like kind of like what you were saying. It was almost like really negative about the state we're in as far as our deer populations and our deer herds go. And I actually have a different perspective on that. Where we're at least, we have as good of a deer herd as we've ever had.
Amen.
And we have as many big bucks as we've ever had where we're at. And why I say I have a unique perspective is just being at the deer shop, right? And even talking to Dad, who's been doing it for 40 years.
Right.
Like, we'll have a handful of 200-inch deer come in every year now. When I was a kid, never saw 200-inch deer come in the shop. You know what I mean?
Praise Jesus.
So I think there are places where, and maybe where Tim's at, it's like that. It's like he's not seeing the deer he used to. Another part of it is I think there are more people managing now, so they're more spread out. So like where maybe back 20 years ago, he had the best property around, so he was getting more of those bucks. Now his neighbors are probably doing a better job, so they're getting some of those too. But ultimately, we were saying the same thing in the end is I think we have a good thing now in some places, but we need to do what he's saying to keep it a good thing, because eventually, if you don't manage it correctly, it'll be like that all over the state. And this rewilding bill could lead to that quicker than if we just mismanage what we have the way it is now.
It's scary. Well, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the WJBM Outdoor Show, brought to you by Midwest Tractor Sales in Jerseyville. We're coming to you from the WJBM studios in Jerseyville, the voice of the Tri-Counties. I'm Aaron Quillan. I operate Monarch Rivers, where the mission is simple: kill big deer. And for y'all joining us, Canyon Clark, taxidermist, podcaster out of Illinois. And we were just talking about the current state of the deer population. What you've been seeing is, more giant deer than past history. I share a similar sentiment. The guy that's been hunting with me the longest, my very first hunting client, still hunting 24, 25 years later, right? And he made a comment to me last year, I think, the year before, recent past. He's like, man, the amount of deer that we're seeing, he's like, this, if this isn't better than it's ever been, it's as good as it's ever been. And you know, he loves to hunt. He's a good hunter. He probably films more deer than he should and might, but he just enjoys it. He's like the epitome of enjoying the outdoors, the camaraderie, and he kills big bucks. But his primary goal is just see and experience, and he travels all over to do that.
Yeah.
Fishing, he's at a stage in his life where he's always out doing something.
Yeah.
But to hear him say that, and then to hear over the years, different guys have been coming consistent, like best I've ever seen it, best I've ever, at very different times. And so there's some human perception in that, but over a long period, I think you're absolutely right. And I think, you know, like we were talking before, whether you want to admit it or not, the farmers, the hunters, and the DNR are married.
Yeah.
You're not getting rid of each other. You can't choose your family.
Exactly.
Right? So I guess they're siblings.
Yes.
And you know, there's got to be a way, because this is it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But I think that they removed wolves for a reason.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and say what you want. They're gonna give an authority to be able to bring, like, that's written plain as day.
Yep.
So following authority, it becomes reality.
Yes.
And so we'll see. Hopefully we're not on the pilot list in our area.
Yeah. One of the other things that I'd seen feedback on that negative wise was, this is all just basically just semantics, and it gives them the authority, but they could have done this stuff anyway, and they're not going to do anything. Yeah, the state doesn't have to keep raising your taxes either. There's no law that says they have to keep raising taxes. It just says they can.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and besides that, why go through all the trouble of this if that's not at least a very serious thought about doing that? So, yeah, the way it's all written and everything, and that being signed or not being law is kind of a scary thought.
Right.
I think ultimately we're talking about deer population. We're talking about that somehow, whether it's got to be on paper or an Excel sheet or whatever form to realize it, the powers that be need to understand the value of deer as a resource monetarily, like we do.
It's about $4 billion in the state of Illinois every year.
Yeah, and I don't know, because for something to be worth their time, it has to be worth money. So I don't know why they don't see it that way, because my worry is, we just talked about, I think we got the best deer population, at least where we're at, in a few counties down in southern Illinois, as we've ever had. And you look at it 30 years ago, 140-inch deer was a giant. People talked about that. Like, you brought 140-inch buck into town in the back of the truck, everybody knew it by noon.
Right.
Now, like, coming into the shop, 140-inch deer comes in, that's a nice buck, but you don't really even bat an eye, right? Because there's just so many bigger deer around. But what I worry what could happen is, if we don't manage it properly, if this rewilding thing happens, those are going to be gone. Okay, so if those are gone, now all these guys coming up from Georgia, Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee to hunt in southern Illinois, because we're an over-the-counter state. We have the big deer for them to come shoot, right? It's not that far for them. So instead of going to like northeast Missouri, where they could still do over the county, southern Illinois is closer.
Right.
It's also got a better reputation for big deer than Indiana. While there's some pockets of big deer in Indiana, it's not Illinois.
Right.
So we're bringing tons of revenue in. And it's not just permits, which they're paying a lot for. It's not just hunting licenses, which they're paying a lot for, but it's also gas money, it's food, it's lodging, all that kind of stuff. It's guys like you that have outfits that they're coming to hunt in outfits with. If we just if we don't manage the herd properly, now we have a bunch of 125, 130-inch deer. Why is the guy not just going to go kill a 130-inch deer in his backyard?
Right.
Unless he's just trying to get away from the wife, in which case he could go to a closer state than Illinois to do that.
Or the beach.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's closer than Illinois for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. I mean, if it came down to it and the deer hunting started to suck in Illinois, I'd find something else to do to provide for my family.
A lot of people would.
I just don't. I fear for safety for the kid. I'm certainly not going to move into town.
Right.
It's just not. I need space.
Yeah.
Too loud of a creature. But hopefully some awareness is made, and hopefully something can be done where these entities can, talk and be a little bit more transparent, kind of give the people responsible for conservation the ability, the baton to carry it forward. So that being said, I'd love it if people could watch your rewilding episode. How do they find you on YouTube?
Yeah. So Ridge Hunter Outdoors is basically the name of everything. I've tried to keep it consistent. I think the only place we don't is on Twitter or X. It's Ridge Hunter OD, which I don't use that very much. It's not real friendly for hunting content, right? So, but Facebook, Instagram, our website's ridgehunteroutdoors.com, and then the YouTube channel is Ridge Hunter Outdoors as well. And that's where all of our video content lands. So the podcasts are all on there. Our hunting show. So we do Fall Pursuit, which is on YouTube, and it's on Carbon TV. That's our deer hunting show we do in the fall. It's like a semi-live. So we film Sunday to Sunday, and then the episodes come out on Tuesday, usually.
Okay.
And those will go on YouTube and Carbon TV. So those are all on our YouTube channel. We do the same thing with turkeys in the spring, except the scheduling's a little more because of the way Illinois does their turkey seasons,
right.
Like who's got permits where. So it's not like every Tuesday a show's coming out. It's just kind of when we kill a turkey.
Yeah.
So we'll put one out. And deer season is whether we kill one or not. That week something's coming out. And I think it's good because guys can kind of keep up with what's going on out there, even if they're not out there. So that's all on YouTube. And then we have, obviously, the regular podcast and then what we call Full Draw Friday, which is more of like the tips, tactics, and strategies.
Okay.
Because when we started, that's what it was. Because I was talking about those guys on those consoles having questions.
Yeah.
And then we started having guests on, and the main show kind of took on a life of its own, and it became more about the guests than the topics.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to keep that part of it alive, though. So we started doing these Friday episodes, which are 20 to 30 minutes on the strategy, more stuff like that.
Okay.
I got a co-host on that now. His name's Austin Stone. He does a lot of the same stuff that I do, but he's out in Kansas City. Awesome dude, knows his stuff. So we do that on Fridays. That's on the YouTube channel. And then we've also got some more fun stuff on there. Like we'll do some kind of random videos every now and then. I'll do some taxidermy videos on there.
Okay.
We have this series we're doing right now. It's like a 5-game season.
Yeah.
And we're playing the old Cabela's Deer Hunt 2004 on the PlayStation 2. Nice. And we're like competing.
Okay.
So we've got that running on the YouTube channel right now. We've done, we need to do some more of them, but like watching old hunts and like to react to like, hunting videos from the 90s or 2000s.
Yeah.
And then we did some hunting trivia on one. We just try to have fun with it, I think the description on it says, laugh, learn, hunt, a new type of hunting media. So you see this with a lot of other, especially in sports.
Right.
This kind of model that we have is out there, but there's not a lot of that in the hunting space. So I'm trying to bring some of what they do well in the sports. I think it can work in the outdoor industry as well. And we've had pretty good response to some stuff so far. So
that's awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, if you're out there listening, go check it out. Ridge Hunter Outdoors on whatever social media you prefer. And thanks again for coming out. It's been great.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. It was worth the drive for sure.
Awesome. Sweet.